Introducing Valois J Vera, aka Crip Lyrical, our host for this evening. He is a disabled revolutionary poet, spoken word artist, and activist based out of Denton, Texas. His experience and knowledge in disability justice, culture, and identity is well noted. He has served on several social justice boards and commissions and has garnered many speaking opportunities, including at the University of North Texas, Fordham University, and Azusa Pacific University. While his journalism can be found in New Mobility Magazine, Latino Rebels, and Rooted in Rights, their poetry has been published by Spoonie Press, Molly House, and the soon-to-be-released anthology American Graveyard: Calls to End Gun Violence, Volume 1 from Read or Green Books. Their debut collection, Crip Lyrics, The Unapologetic Poetry of Disability from Poor Press, is an illustrated collection of liberation verses guided by lived experience and self-reflection. He serves as host of the virtual poetry showcase, Thunder and Lightning, and performs a one-poet show called Crip Poetics. And I'll drop his links in the chat now.
Thank you, Laura. Nice introduction. Welcome, everyone. So many people here. This is awesome. Welcome to Thunder and Lightning, the only virtual poetry space that exclusively features disabled BIPOC and disabled queer poets. It's truly an honor to serve as your host in this wonderful, beautiful, sacred space. I have some more housekeeping to go over before we begin. Just an overall umbrella content warning. Some of the poetry that you'll be hearing tonight may contain adult language or themes of trauma or oppression. Just to give you a heads up, be comfortable and practice self-care. If you need to turn your camera off, that's fine. If you need to eat, drink, lay down, sit up, whatever you need to do, just to enjoy the space, please do so. We will take a short break midway through. So if you want to wait for the break, that's also fine. This space is designed to support, uplift, and amplify. So that said, we do ask that you keep your microphones muted throughout the duration of the event. However, we strongly encourage everyone to show your support. If you're able to snap your fingers on the screen, you can do that. If you're able to clap while muted, you can do that. You can use the reaction buttons on the bottom of your screen. And what we like to do at Thunder Lightning, we love to flood the chat area. So if there's something that you hear that's awesome, that's dope, feel free to say so on there. Again, and as Laura said, a lot of the poets will have their socials and publication links and pay links. And yes, if you're able to, tipping your poet is completely acceptable, but definitely not required. But please do follow them on their social medias and amplify their work, okay? So now on with the show, and I will take the liberty to start the show tonight. For those of you that heard the intro music by Gil Scott-Heron, The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. I really was just recently introduced to him, and that poem inspired me to write a poem similar to The Revolution. So accompanying me tonight would be my partner, Michelle Henderson. She's muted because the bongos won't pick up, so you may hear it slightly, but it's more for rhythm for me. This piece is called The Revolution Will Not Be Accessible. Hope you enjoy it. You will not be able to join the masses, brother. You will not be able to get out, get loud, and get proud. You will not be able to lose yourself in the fight and skip out on oppression, because the revolution will not be accessible. The revolution will not be closed caption for the hearing impaired. Brother, you will have to figure that out for yourself, because the revolution will not provide ASL interpreters. The revolution will not show pictures of Joe Biden blowing a bugle and leading military to seek and destroy stares, and stereotypes. The revolution will not be accessible. The revolution will not be brought to you by the Special Olympics or Easter seals, or will not star Stevie Wonder, Frida Kahlo, or Helen Keller. The revolution will not be socially distanced, will not be flattening the curve, and will not be mask mandated. The revolution will not be accessible, brother. There will be no pictures of us on Instagram with inspirational captions. There will be no trending tweets or TikToks about the handy-capable, the differently able, the special needs, the bed-bound, the wheelchair-bound, the crazy. We will not go viral because hashtag the revolution will not be accessible. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers going through a mental health crisis. There will be no pictures of pigs putting a chokehold on brothers with asthma, diabetes, and heart conditions. There will be no pictures of pigs bashing brothers with PTSD, ADHD, or IDD. Those photos will be tagged as inappropriate content and removed because the revolution will not be accessible. The revolution will not be accessible. There will be no ramps to the stage at the local poetry slam. In case of emergency, use stairs will be on every headline, byline, and park bench sign. Blue parking spaces will be reserved for seasonal plant sales and FedEx trucks delivering dollies of discrimination. The revolution will not provide materials in braille or large print. Brother, you will have to figure that out for yourself, because the revolution will not recognize your German Shepherd as a seeing eye dog. The revolution will not be accessible. The revolution will not cash your Social Security check and will not accept your Medicare, your Section 8 voucher, or your VA benefits. The revolution will tell you to vote, but you will have to walk, limp, or roll to the rec center and vote for someone who doesn't look or sound like you, because the revolution will not provide accessible transportation. The revolution will not be accessible, will not be accessible, will not be accessible. The revolution will not be accessible, brothers, unless we figure that out for ourselves. Thank you. And thank you, Michelle. All right, let's get started. Hope you enjoy that. Tonight's theme, before I forget, is the rebirth of a revolution. So for those attending, what does revolution mean to you? Are we in a revolution right now? Has the revolution even started? So give us your thoughts in the chat about revolution. And I'm gonna ask the poets after they do their thing to get their thoughts. So let's get started with the first one. Our first poet of the evening is a poet, cat parent, and the author of various poetry collections, including Allergies and When I Bleed. They have been published in Bourgeois magazine, Castle Stories, the Abbey Review, Troublemaker Firestarter, Wishbone Words, and more. You can find their work on Instagram and TikTok at Maggie Writes. Please welcome Maggie Bowyer.
Hi, how are you guys? Hope everyone's doing well. I have 2 poems for you guys today. And then I'll talk about kind of why I think they're related to the theme of revolution. The first one is, both your brothers got married this year. I wonder if they left a rose on an empty seat for you. If they poured out a beer, since they're also of age now. If they knew how your face used to stretch sideways when we talked about them. if they were aware your connective tissue was dissolving more rapidly daily, if they grasped that they were each one of the last things left tethering you to this planet, long after our cords were cut. If they understood why you slipped so many pills under your tongue. If they imagined you standing to their left with that lopsided grin. If they noticed your absence compared to the moments you were present. If you showed up to the receptions, hung back in the shadows to keep the attention off yourself, and just listened to the lyrics and the lingering laughter. If you smoked one last Marlboro on the patio, hoping you'd get to chat with a stranger. If you wanted to stay. The next poem is called Things to Remember on Bad Days. The smell of fresh rain, dancing and drenched and daring. The way distance generates desperation, but hopefully not for what we anticipated. The build-up to a kiss, gifts wrapped and waiting, someone prying themselves open with a crowbar to let you see the light inside. Discovering the glow someone thought was long gone. Rediscovering your own luminescence. Redefining what makes you, you in essence. The smell of cherry blossom trees after a spring storm. The way wet clothes cling to you. The way I cling to you. The way that life clings to you. So when I think about revolution, I actually think a lot about like grief and rage. I think that rage comes from a place of grief and of loss. And so I wanted to, pick a poem that signified that loss. But then I think something that we lose sight of in revolution often is care. And as disabled people, I think that's something we can bring to revolution, is that community care aspect. And so I wanted to also pick a more uplifting poem that kind of talked about like those little moments of caring for each other.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I think, what we forget, that self-care is such a revolutionary act, right? I mean, capitalism will tell you to go, go, go. And just, the radical act of rest is always forgotten. So it's a good point. Thank you, Maggie, for sharing your work and your thoughts. Please hit up Maggie's socials and contact, blow up her Insta. And thank you again for being here. Appreciate it. Our next poet is a queer Colombian queer poet and activist living in Tucson, Arizona. They host Queer Trans Summer, a virtual creative arts series, and have done a variety of collaborations with the Institute for LGBTQ+ Studies and the Women and Gender Resource Center at the University of Arizona. Their work has been featured at QT PLC Fest Tucson, More Than Words, an immersive poetry experience at the Tucson Museum of Art, Interrupted by Trains at Splinter Collection, Tucson Poetry Fest, Gender Unfound in Austin, Texas, and Tucson's first Disability Pride Festival. Please welcome to the virtual stage, Aura Valdes.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here. I kept seeing all the little squares pop up, and I was just getting all aflutter and more excited. So yeah, this means a lot to be in a space like this, especially to hear the word care spoken so many times. A lot of times when I think of revolution, I do think of care. I think of words like embodied, I think of words like pleasure. For me, I think of that as also a revolutionary act, because sometimes I think that revolution is not always, I don't know how to describe it. Like for me, when I think of revolution, I think of the everyday. I think of like being here and being someone who takes up space, because a lot of times I think that disabled bodies and queer and trans people and bodies like mine are thought of as like, oh, either expendable or, oh, you're not going to be here for long anyways. So it's like, no, I'm going to take up space. I'm going to be amazing and awesome and just encourage my friends to do the same. So I think of it as every day is revolutionary. Every breath, every struggle, writing, yelling it, crying, all of that to me is revolutionary. So the poems that I have, it's a mix of things. And like I said, I want to cover in my poetry all the different stages of things. So yeah. And I will try, apologies, I will try to remember to not go too fast for interpreters. This first one is Thunder and Becoming. It is the falling, the fear of forgetting you. A once dead weight, phone in hand, tucked away, enshrined. Its burial is not second to yours. Now I've taken up smiling in sass, becoming perhaps a boy, a sir, wanting to say sorry, waking up conflicted for becoming the opposite of breaking earth and blowing wind. Left to the memory when you called with no words, the ability to speak them had left like a slow leak. Now memory and I do battle less often, descending into thunderstorms. I whisper your name and I speak victories. Second sight. My body of second sight, my hybrid beaver, the lover of words, slippery skin, wet feet, dodging socks, the odor of white skin, gray, blue zipper, the U-Haul we never drove, to our never lived together, but always fucked together, 10 houses we never lived in. The hotel that is bright like a brochure, neon and day glow, the combat zone, and a stop delivery sign. I wrote myself into the garbage, moving things into things, redemption song. Compost is hopeful. It's trash, but not trash at all. This next poem is a series that I'm working on that feels like it's just never going to end, but that's good for me. And the series is going to be called My Lights Are in Another House. I crumble to hold you, plant repetition driven by touch, too involved. Familiar sentences ring and roll, sharp around my ear. Brush, brush, stamp, the sound placed around the world. I crumble to hold you, plant repetition driven by touch, too involved. Wanting to be picked up, chosen. Puzzle. You and I crush in the middle of a problem, mid-breath. My dogs like pairs of house shoes, misread. A sponge, a hairbrush, the wall. I decided all the photos of you are easier to leave in the window. The minute before, we're touching legs. And this last one, it does feel like it's sort of the most I feel sometimes about revolution, because it's nature and it's bodies. It's how I feel as a trans person, a person of color, a queer person, a disabled person. It's kind of a bit of a struggle, but I feel like it's taking up space and it's being amazing. I pack like me in the grocery store, whatever will take up the least amount of space. I walk in the world, stabbing the sun. My fingers dry against clean things in white coated metal. Covered the bed, covered in ruin. If I'm soft enough, a numb scar across my chest, 2 anchors in my armpits to remind me that I paid for this, like my parents paid for me. The swap of dirty dollars, no matter how innocent the O, we spit out in gratitude. Withholding is not in the language of birds. In their song, it is never enough. That's what I have. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for inviting me.
Well, those were beautiful.
Thank you.
Your delivery, well, obviously everybody's delivery matches their poetry, but your delivery is so smooth, and you can hear the vulnerability in the words. I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you, Aura. Yeah. Everybody connect with Aura on their socials. Blow them up on the chat, and thank you again. Our next poet is a white, anti-Zionist, Jewish, genderqueer butch that is disabled and chronically ill with EDS, autoimmune illnesses, and mental health stuff. The work is about existing in a politicized, traumatized mind body, trying to find a way towards connection. They're immunocompromised and so appreciative of virtual spaces like this one. Give a warm welcome to Liv Grace.
Hi, thank you, Val.
Thank you, Liv.
Just to speak for 2 seconds about revolution, I really love what everyone else has been saying about care work and rage and grief living all alongside each other. And that's very much the space that my poems exist in. I will try to speak slowly. Most of my poems don't have titles, so I'll try to pause between them. I used to be a prayer you could not pray without singing. What am I now? A whisper, a quiet song on the wind, the sound of cold tea sitting in the mug. Some days I feel like a collection of diagnostic codes, and when I have to answer, is your heart rate always high? Every fucking week, despite my heart being the reason I am getting this treatment, I want to grab the nurse by her sharp little fingers and jam them between my ribs and say, no, sometimes it stops. Crip bedtime stories are wake time stories too. That liminal existence where bed space is the always space. What if I read you a story of Crip vengeance instead, where you pretend I am turning pages and I teach you that these rheumatic hands have turned to knives? Let me write a death gospel for these bodies, and I'll teach you a spell for how to walk safe with a cane for the first time. This may look like a sick bed, but this is where I tell you I love you. It is where I give birth to you while you sleep. A death doula for your night terrors. My cheeks buried in your hair, my breath buried in your mouth, as your whole face turns silhouette in electric lilac from the plant light across the room. This is a sick bed, which is to say it is a majesty, an absolute kingdom. It is a home. Avoidance feels like a welt of panic with no place to settle, a stricture in my throat, gasps of breath that keep me from sleep, sleep that keeps me from friends. It feels like the weight of so many illnesses, the burden of fatality, living conditions where survival is a miracle. It feels like a small child crying unendingly alone. Sometimes it feels like the relief of too many weed gummies for too many days in a row. It's the call of my empty stomach when there's food on the plate, because eating feels like an abandonment of the self that knew how to go days without because we needed to. It's the agonizing number of little red dots on my phone screen that I watch at all times, but can't use to text you back, or call home nursing, or the specialty pharmacy, or the surgeon. It feels like the pain in my joints and my head and my spine. The body terror of taking a nap does not escape me. But intention is sitting with the dogs in my lap. Rest can be as small as their body heat reminding me to breathe. I briefly returned to school at 33, and a professor made the first assignment. Introduce yourself to class. And I wanted to say I'm a faggot dyke who's buying a gun to sleep next to in these nightmare times where my disabled body is still told, if you miss class the day your paper is due, you get a 0, even if you wrote the paper. But the professor also said, anything inappropriate will be reported to the administration and the offending student will be removed from class. And so I added this professor to my shit list for cop people, and my introduction just said, it's been a long time since I've been in school, and that's good enough for now while I bide my time. After Mary Oliver, you do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Unless, of course, you are sick, in which case you will have to crawl 1,000 times across shattered glass, as they say. Miraculous how you do not bleed, impervious to your calloused knees. I think I'll make a body of the thin winter sun, feed her pomegranates until she grows fat as the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. Blossom the pale sunset of her into ambrosia and bathe in it between her thighs. Fuck her like a love letter to being femme. This is my last one. When you call me beautiful and I stare at you, do not think I am struck taciturn. I just don't know what to do. Put you in a glass jar like a magnificent insect. You glow with what is sometimes lightning, but also fulguration, like as if to burn what I've been taught to believe about this body and who can love it. These mornings they've taken getting used to. I still wake up at 3 a.m. expecting night terrors, heart pounding in my mouth, and you moan this little sigh from somewhere in your sleep like, baby, calm down, you're all right. And I don't know, I get lost. Home. The word which before would have disintegrated on my tongue holds steady as the silent breath pouring from your open mouth. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Liv. Those are awesome. I think what your poems, you mentioned body a lot, and I think just opening up our bodies is a revolutionary act. Speaking about them and being outwardly vulnerable about them is a radical thing because we're taught not to. So thank you for sharing that. Follow Liv on her socials and give the mother love. Our next poet is a first timer on the Thunder and Lightning virtual stage. They are a white non-binary person who uses any and all pronouns. They've been enjoying getting more involved with advocacy in their state. Please welcome Georgie Elson.
Hello. So before I start, I want to give a content warning. My poem's called What's Wrong With You? And there's ableism and a brief mention of suicide. The theme of the poem is about the ableist things people say to you in public and at the grocery store. So if you're not in a place to hear that, feel free to mute me. And how this relates to revolution, I definitely think the revolution has started, but speaking about these things that are said to us and not just keeping them to ourselves and internalizing it is really important. And I've only shared this with a handful of people, but everyone is surprised that these are the things we hear. So I'm going to try not to go too fast, but I always forget to breathe. All right. What's wrong with you? They hurl in my face in a tone so sour, it's undeserving of any grace. After all, they never offer me the same. Why are you in that thing, that wheelchair, they insist? At this point, I feel I need to file a cease and desist. This is more than I should have to deal with during a routine shopping trip. I stare blankly, looking at their face, thinking surely they'll stop and leave without a trace. But instead, the questions keep coming like grenades. What's so wrong with you that you need that thing? What's so wrong with your legs? Are you just lazy? Next they'll say. I saw you stand up in aisle 8 It must not be that hard if you can reach up for those dates. Did you get in a car accident? Did you fall off a cliff? Tell your personal health information, they seem to insist, while the despair in my heart continues to persist. You better watch out, we have a speed demon coming through. Isn't she too pretty to be disabled? They exclaim to every single person around you. I have a genetic disorder, thanks. It affects my connective tissues. Now, if you don't mind stepping aside, I seriously have some shopping to do. I had it on a clipboard. All right. I start to drive away in my new powered wheels, ready to go find some good Sunday morning deals. Then they put their hand up as if to stop. Can I just say one last thing? Not again, I thought. You are so brave. You know, I couldn't do it. I couldn't get through. Heck, I'd kill myself if I were you. Please get out of my way. I have things to do. Your ableism has nothing to do with me and everything to do with you. You have a lot to go unpack. Next time you see a disabled person like me, please just shut your trap. As I zoom away, I hear a loud gasp. I say under my breath, you can kiss my ass. So that's all I have for tonight.
Awesome. Thank you, Georgie, for sharing that and for joining us on the stage. Georgie is one that has attended past events and decided to take the leap. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So our next artist is a Newark, New Jersey native, a musician, poet, activist, singer, music producer, writer, and advocate for intersectional disability justice. She also fights for Black marginalized feminist groups, the LGBTQIA+ community, and disability social justice. She has a master's in higher ed, administration, and a bachelor's in communications and music business. She brings together music and her own story to open up the minds of individuals about hidden disabilities, intersectionality, and social change. She is currently working on a self-produced documentary called Second Chances Beyond Black Lives Matter. Welcome to the virtual stage, Shariese Katrell, AKA Music Trail. Shariese?
Hello, everybody. I hope you probably could hear my aggression in my poem because it was really hectic week, because continuously, I would tell you guys, if you want to donate to me monetarily, that'd be great. But if you don't, I would say, spread the word about my story, because every day I have to fight my school as a Black disabled graduate student at Rowan University, where I have to report them and they tell me, I can't help you because you're Black and disabled. They tell me that and I have to report them to the Office of Civil Rights and currently have a case against them. So my anger and aggression, because they tell me I can't give you a transcriber, I can't help you academically. And guess what? When I go on campus, they make me feel like I don't belong constantly. And I'm the only Black female in the class and the only Black disabled female in the whole entire doctorate program. And that's the way they treat me. And I pay tuition out of pocket. And they don't help me at all and haven't helped me. But then they send me emails 4 months later saying, how's it going? So I have to pay out of pocket to tutors and different people like that. So somebody told me the other day, you were chosen to do this. So I wrote this out of anger, and you might hear it because I'm sick of people telling me that sometimes that maybe God did choose me for this right here. People tell me, never question God, but I ask, why was I chosen? Why was I chosen for my life to be turned around at the age of 18 and everything except the breath taken away from my body? Now I'm labeled a broken woman of color who is a lesbian with a disability that stands out in society pictures. Many said to me, you were chosen. This is your path. But God, why? Please tell me, why can't I drive? Why do I have to beg people just to live my life? God speaks to me in many ways because if you weren't disabled, he says, you wouldn't be able to fight for people like you. You wouldn't understand their pain, their experiences, their struggles for acceptance in life and their hurdles just to make it each day. Sometimes I'm crawling on the floor after being robbed in New York City after having a seizure. You understand what it is like to fight for equal chance, but it's hard to understand still why. Why did it have to be me? We all are chosen to tell our stories, helping others understand how each life matters. Don't label me just because I'm not what society calls normal reality, but who dictates what's normal? I am not normal, you say? We were chosen to fight for those who can't fight for themselves or speak for themselves. Some of us are here for a lifetime, while God calls others who are just here for a short time, who has done their job. We are chosen to fight against exclusion, marginal intersectional disableism. Why he chose all of us? Just think of this when life isn't fun, how he chose you to be his warrior. I will think of this until the end. He chose all of us as his warriors, his reporters to fight and open up the minds of these people who are empty-headed. Just because we are disabled doesn't mean we are not a whole person and we can't do anything like everyone. We are the warriors who are chosen.
Thank you, Shariese. Appreciate you sharing that.
And I would like to give a moment of silence for Mr. Nichols, who lived with a hidden disability, Crohn's disease.
Thanks again, Shariese. I think, obviously, one of the things you think about revolution is being a warrior and being a fighter. And amidst the self-care and the rest and all that, there is a fight, that has to bring out a warrior in us, however that looks like. So thank you for bringing that to us. All right. And next up is a queer Chicanx autistic illustrator, science communicator, and habitual drag artist. They enjoy webcomics, sci-fi, sci-art, their cats and beings face dust. You can follow some of their work on Tumblr and unfortunately Instagram and Facebook too. If you are on board with following spoony artists who take extended posting breaks with no apologies. Long died the algorithm. Please welcome Natch Azure.
Hi. So I wanted to share more and be more on theme. I didn't finish the ones I was working on though, but in the process, instead, I found a poem I had written over a decade ago when I was still in high school and deep in the closet, and thought it paired well with a poem I had actually written last October to present at a local coming out day event. I think side by side, they tell a story, and this first one needs me to explain that back in school, I always said my favorite thing about writing was that I was without a face other than the words on the page. At the time when I wrote about this feeling, I didn't have a name for the poem, but now I call it The Author's an Egg. I'm not a sir, I'm not a lady, I'm not a dress, suit, or tie. I'm not an arm, a leg, a quivering thigh. I'm not a batted twinkle in a dilated eye. I'm not a anything, not a she or he, but the one and only, a consummate title to declare a soul personified. I won't be broken down, into pieces easier to swallow. I don't run round in circles. I can't use myself to follow. I will not have my body hacked and my parts thrown in a sack to admire, to despise, to disregard as famished lies. It's the sole property. Regardless, it is mine. So that's a young poem. That's teenage Natch. And so with that context, here's the last one that I've called Hatched and Trangry. I don't envy cis people really. How terrible it must be to be trapped in your body, given a form but never choosing it, given a role but never seeking it, given chores and never goals. What is it like not to question your soul? What is it like to never hear it answer? How lonely is it to mask in the company of none? Who is your family, and how would you know? How can I envy that doubt when I have been gifted true sight to know that my blood relations are those who've bled with me? To be cis, I can't imagine, and I've imagined quite a lot. What would it be like to sit within the cage of your own assumptions and never use the key, to lie on a pillow of expectations and never wake from the dreams you lack? And that's all I've got.
Thank you, Natch. Those are great. There's a couple of words that you said in there that remind me that revolution is always also choosing and seeking. Being able to choose whether it's family, identity, so forth, and seeking that is also very revolutionary. So thank you for sharing that. Those are great. So we'll move on to our next one, which is our final feature of the evening. They are disabled, genderqueer, and gay, and is the host of Crypt the Rainbow, a queer disabled virtual nightlife event space. They are currently inhabiting the land of the Danicawa Indians, aka Dripping Springs, Texas. This is their first appearance on Thunder and Lightning. Please welcome Carmen Jones.
Hi, greetings, everyone. Thanks, Val, for hosting the space, and thanks for everyone for participating so readily. It makes me grateful to be sharing here and happy to know whatever comes out of my mouth will at least be reacted to in some way. So like other people, I also don't title my poems. I found a place to sit between your legs, a fire of live oak and laurel burned brightly there, reminding me of the phrase we almost learned to sit in the fire. As I approached, flames of connection and clarity lapped the surface. I saw a place for me and released in gratitude an exhale of any remaining anxiety. This terrain did not present as a deep canvas that beckoned unwelcomeness. It was obtainable, one I hoped to cross again and again. I started on my way, crossing smooth ridges and a haloed mound. Suddenly I was pulled into more. The surface gave way and I was swallowed whole into softness. Earth was a concept no longer. I lost my own imagery for where I should go and what I should do. I felt the need to quicken my pace and find my footing, to find the walls and bearings. You reassured me with strong guidance that it didn't matter where I was, just continue. That while my cheeks may search for walls, here the body had become what was more, and I still sheltered, but no longer in place. I stretched forward with my tongue, a flashlight that now seems like an arcane tool from a past era. Again, guidance speaking more. and with a flicker of light, the fire is out. In the soft darkness and falling away other world, I promise to breathe, to be, to feel and explore, not with my brain or senses of expectations, but with wholeness, playfulness, and thankfulness. And I think it relates to revolution by still being queer and talking about your sexuality, especially in a body that has been disabled from birth. It's been hard to come into my own sexuality a lot because I often saw my body as different than me. So kind of what Val was talking about earlier. So it took a long time for me to come out as gay and start living that lifestyle, as well as come out as disabled and be able to start exploring those identities. So I guess right now, my revolution is just trying to be more myself out in the world. Thanks.
Thank you, Carmen, for sharing that. Yeah, the revolution is authenticity, right? Being who you are and owning that. It's a good reminder. All right. Please follow Carmen on their socials. That's posted in the chat. One more call for Tilia, if you're out there, or Jasper, if you're out there, before we wrap up a little bit. Going once, going twice, no? All right. Well, I will finish with a poem, then do our thank yous and so forth. So this poem, I rarely read it out in public. I wrote this in response to the Roe versus Wade decision last year. And I think as a cis appearing male, it's sometimes difficult to speak on certain topics, but as a revolutionary poet, it's kind of hard to stay away from certain things and not have a response. So just content warning, this poem has the word penis in it many times, and it is entitled PenisPoem, a confession. I was born with a penis. Yes, I know what you're thinking. Not another penis poem. Not another mansplaining, Johnson swinging, me Tarzan singing, machismo slinging, ding-a-linging penis poem. I understand. I hear the chants and disdain. I see the stance and pain. And in a very different way, I feel the same. Wait, allow me to try this again. You see, Father, as he acknowledges my presence. I was born with a penis. And yes, I confess to not always doing my best to address this cowardice. You see, Father, he nods for me to continue. I was born with a penis, and I'm ashamed because history has revealed that this organ, this tissue and flesh is connected to so much maliciousness. Colonizers, killers, thieves, and oil diggers. You see, Father, he groans and becomes restless. I was born with a penis. And ingrained in society's brain is the false notion that you and I rule and reign. Power and privilege, rape and pillage. Isn't it time to torch this patriarchal village? You see, Father, he begins to sigh in anger. I was born with a penis. And don't get me wrong, I'm quite fond of him, her, they, this non-binary peninsula of peace and pleasure. And I loathe its hatred, its heritage of hatred, its ancestry of anger, its fascination with fascism and false freedom. You see, Father, he breathes in disapproval. I was born with a penis. And it's time to keep it in my pants. It's time to think with this head and not that one. It's time to insert all metaphors that strip away any sense of entitlement. You see, Father, he begins to get angry. I was born with a penis, and it's their voice, and it's their body, and it's their choice. And I wonder, Father, his fists tightly grip the black covered script. If indeed he created she from he, then why are you not clutching your ribs and gasping with each and every step of the anger and agony? Why are you not screaming rage at the tyranny? Why do your eyes not see the hypocrisy? Oh, wait, I see, Father. You were born with a penis too. And that is PenisPoem. Thank you for indulging me on that one. And that is our show tonight. Some quick thank yous. Thank you to all the poets and performers on here. It's never easy to be on a virtual stage. So please give them all the emojis you can for sharing their work. It's beautiful stuff. Thank you to Art Spark Texas and Coalition of Texans with Disabilities for the support of this quarterly program and for providing our ASL and cards. Thank you for our captioning service and our interpreters. And finally, thank you for supporting this beautiful space. We've had over 40 people attending here, so that's awesome. Our next show is in April 28th. So it's the final Friday quarterly, same time, 8 p.m. Central Time. Be on the lookout for that. And that wraps it up. I want to thank everyone for sharing. And just a reminder, everyone here is a revolutionary. So a single breath is a revolution. And I applaud everyone in this space and wish you all a great and happy New Year. This is the beginning of the year. Thank you all for coming. Have a good night.